Hello, welcome back. Today, what we're gonna do is to cover the last piece of the entire course, which is the video tutorial number 12 out of total 12. So, this particular video segment I want to talk about is mainly focus on is the how do we leverage Django's user authentication security feature that built into it. Also, we're going to use enhanced registration module, which gives a lot more functionality to the Django security and the user management. Uh, Before I started that introduction to the Django authentication and security, I want to talk about something on the segment 11, the last segment. I stopped it. We last segment we talked about the Bootstrap and the jQuery. How do we use them to add the professional look and feel to the website, as well as adding the data validation in the front, meaning in the browser, so the badly formatted data will not be sent to the server and then rely on server to do the validation. A good example is in this form we talked about is the URL, right? So this will tell you right away without even getting to the server side. Even though the Django does have the server side validation already, but you don't want to rely on server for the things you can do on the front end already, right? By the same token, we added the phone number, right? So this is also does the front end, front side validation. What we attempt to do, or I attempt to do, is to actually add a day picker with a calendar, and I couldn't get it to work. So I got to this point, but the calendar won't pop up. Well, it turns out I stopped the video because the video segment is already pretty long, and also I need some time to figure out why it wasn't working. I don't want to take the time, during the tutorial. So it turns out the mistake I made is very obvious, because if you look at this, right, I added in the if you look at the last segment, I added this line, this block of the lines, 12 to 26. It's really to the idea is to have JavaScript which uses jQuery to load this function for day picker. It's part of the day picker component, okay? And this piece, it turns out where I said local underscore script, that block I'm trying to add to the base.html to replace to, which is I loaded in the beginning of it, I'm extending that, right? This block, I thought it was defined in the base.html which I can replace with this. It turns out the block tag name was wrong. So I have here is local underscore script, but the base.html actually defined as such. The name is actually local script in one word, no underscore. And that's why when this gets loaded, you couldn't tell actually the where to in my add course. It couldn't tell where to load it. You can look at it here right away. I mean, if you do an inspect of this page and move all the way down, you see it where it matches where I am in this portion of it. The script is not being loaded. Okay, all right, it's not being loaded. So all I need to do is actually to use this name so it matches up. Okay, so if I do this and then reload this, right, it will work. See the calendar. Okay, so right, so it shows the calendar. Okay, so and then if I look at I inspect the page, you can see the script gets loaded at the end of it. You see the script here, right? Right. This is the script I'm gonna blow up. You can see it. So, see, this is the script I wanted to load, right? And this is the name of it. And I was wrong before I put a local underscore script. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay. So now that fixed this problem. Okay. The calendar, why the calendar won't pop up. All right. So before we move to the introduction to the user registration logging feature of the Jingle framework, I'm also going to talk. I want to talk about something I left it out last video tutorial, which is if you look at this right for each of the category, when I hop over, it actually has a nice shade. Look at this, a darker shade to indicate which one I am actually pointing to. Wouldn't it be nice to make this shade or color stays when I click on it? This will stay to indicate this category matches the content here, right? So that would be real nice. In other words, if I, if this is collect, the color changes or font becomes bold, and then, it kind of matches, tells you which category is being selected on this page. So we want to try to do that, okay? Give that kind of visual feel of it to indicate which category is being selected. So to do that, if you can recall in the last video tutorial, we add a function for customized or custom template tag. In this case, it's actually get category list, which allow us to render a list of the categories on the left, right? The idea is you want this side stays on, and as it changes, this gets changed per this select. So we added this feature. Uh, it's a really a custom template tag. So what we wanted to do is actually when we selected this, right, we want to pass the name of this category through this list and then be able to render it on, you know, being rendered. This particular section is being rendered by cats.html. So this function ties to this cats.html. So I wanted to be able to pass this information to the dictionary, and the dictionary will be given to cats.html to render. Okay. So the way we do this is actually I'm going to pass the the one currently being selected to the okay, to make a dictionary of it, and that way we can at least we so when cat the cats.html trying to rendering it, it will pick up the information. Okay, so the idea is given the list of the category, right, and given the name of the active category, if I painting through rendering through each items, if I find a match, then I'll change the item into something different visual attribute. That way it will show up in here. Okay, so now we did this with the category list function. We add a parameter, pass the selected category into the list, and then ultimately end up in the dictionary given to cats.html. Okay, so in the cats.html, basically since now I have the in my dictionary, I have a not only I have a list of the categories, I also have the list I have the category where currently is being selected. So what I need to do is as the before it was this, right? So for each of the items I render into a list. Well, in the because I have additional information now, so all I do here is I actually compare if the item category is equal to the active category which I passed through this function, right? Through this function, it's in this dictionary. So if it is, then I'm going to paint this with a class called active. Its class equal to active is actually a Bootstrap style sheet definition where it actually turns into some different color to indicate they're different, right? So, but if it's not, I'll just leave it alone as was before. Okay, so that's what the idea is. Now, once we did this, right? Remember we did this function, right? We add a parameter. Now, how is this? How do we pass the parameter into it? Well, you just locate where this function is being called as a custom tag, which is actually in the base.html. Okay, so here's where it gets called in this piece, right? In the side block, which is here. Okay, it does, you know, it it calls this function, ultimately uh, calls the cast.html to render this portion of it. Now, I remember how we got to this. When when you click this, the category.html templates here, will be loaded. Okay, when you click on this, this will be loaded. Let me blow up this just so at least the folks understand. So when when you click on the security, network security, this page actually is being loaded. Okay, so on this, if this page is being loaded, this page has a variable called from the dictionary passed in rendered by the views.py. It has a dictionary name value pair called category, right? So that is, since the category.html is extends the baseline HTML, so the entire section of whatever is HTML is already in the category.html by the time it included already. So that means the base.html has this variable category to be used as well. So all we need to do is actually pass this variable, right? I'm sorry, pass this variable to the use this category variable to this function, because this is the variable indicates which category is being selected. Okay, if a Python, this will be equal to Python, so you pass this to it, right? So now we have it. Okay, uh, what I needed to is to reload and then rerun it so you can take a look, right? So I'll just reload this. Look at this, right? So now it shows which one is being clicked and which is the one that is selected. Okay, so that's what this is. Okay, so now this will conclude all the from a visual perspective of the you know Tangle with Jingle, the website itself. Now we're going to focus on starting now is to introduce the security and the user administration logging feature. Okay, we're going to skip through a number of things. If you based on the Tango with Jingle course 1.7, we actually this what we're going to talk about for the rest of the segment is actually based on the chapter 9, okay, and chapter 12. The chapter 12, the chapter 9 covers the basic out-of-box Django user authentication authorization feature, and 12 introduce a enhanced Django module or application, however you want to call it, called Django-Registration-Redux. Now, this it has a lot of enhanced functionality. Uh, you can look at this, and I have in the video tutorial at the end of it, I will give you the link or everything to in terms of the user guide and the quick start guide. This is where it is. Okay, you can read upon. There are a lot of cool features this gives you, like a two-phase authentication and registration and password exploration and so on and so forth. But today we're gonna focus on is just the login. Because of time constraint, we're gonna only do the login and log out and registration. Okay, so before we started, we need to do a couple of things. First, just like we did other pieces, we need to install this. So the way you do this is you do a pip install Django-registration-redux. Okay, so this is what you need to do. Now I already installed it, so it doesn't it already installed. So that's the first step. Second step is actually after you install, you need to add the registration application into the install app to let Django know. So I already did this. So all you need is add it here. Okay, that's the second thing you do. The third is actually add the parameters for this application, and the thing is the comment is actually well written. You can just read upon. It's in here as well. Also in the Jingle-Registration-Redux website, it has a very detailed document on this. Okay, you can read upon this. So the last piece you need to do actually to make this live is remember we said that Django everything starts with the routing of the URL, right? So we need to add this piece to the project level URL, because just like the admin, which is a building application for Django, account is the URL for the building function registration. Okay, the one we just loaded, and they actually implemented number of backend uh, for the different, because for the different way to authenticate, you have a different backend. The out of box, the registration, Django registration Redux gives you this called simple URL backend. Okay, so we're gonna just use this. It's actually functionally is actually very, it's pretty complete anyway. So we're gonna use this. Now, once you get to this point, right, you actually will be able to, from an account slash, you can get to some of the functionality already. Registration, log in, log out, password changes, reset. Those are the things they already give you. And there are also more fancy stuff like activation through the email, activation through the keys, and two-phase email authentications. There are a lot of other things this actually gives you, but we're not going to implement that. Okay, so that's, all we're going to do is log in, log out, and registration. Now, the the this particular Jingle-Registration-Redux, this particular module, it implement all the backend, but it does expect you to have your own templates. Okay, so what we're gonna do is to look at the way they want you to do is you have to develop your own templates. The templates actually is in uh, either you create it from scratch or you can just download it on website. This is on the link at the Tango with Django. They give you a link. Okay, you can go download it from here. It's on the GitHub. Okay, and then once you download it, you need to unzip it and then put this as it is. It expects you put it into the template. Underneath of it, you have a directory called registration. All the templates supposed to be in the registration directory. Don't change the name. You have to follow through. Okay, so put it. So put it under registration. Now we are only going to use login, log out, registration close, complete, and form. Okay, those are the rest of them we're not using it. So once you get to this, right, you should be able to actually run the system, because just like the other ones we talk about, you can access this URL because you already registered at the in a project level. So let's try see what's going to happen, right? So if we do the accounts, right? Well, it actually tell me the log. It goes to the login, says the templates is not. It couldn't find it, the base HTML. Well, because these are the out of box templates. Actually, it was never customized, right? So we need to customize it. So let's open this to look at. Well, here's the interesting piece. It says extend the base.html. However, remember now we are in the under the registration directory, right? Where's the base.html located? The base.html actually located in the Rango, under the Rango directory. No wonder it couldn't find it. So we will just do this then. So we'll do Rango, right? That's how we do it. Okay, all right. Now you know, this is what I did for the logging, but I already did it for to save time. I already did it for the log out. Remember, we only do these 5 forms. I already did this. Okay, and the complete, right? You add a log wrangle in front of it. Okay, otherwise you won't be able to find it. You'll get this error. Okay, so I already did. So I did this. Now, once you did this, will this work? Well, it does. But I hit the login. Why is the pages not showing up? Well, it turns out it's the same problem as I had on the calendar. Look at this. In the out of box templates, they are looking at a body tag called content, right? But in our base.html, we don't have a block tag called content. What we need is actually put the login if we want to, right? Since we want to put the login on the right side, this body. The, okay, so to do that, we just need to specify body block tag name in my logging. Okay, so I put it in here. All right. So now if I reload it, there you go. You see this? This is the unfortunately I already have something, so let's just so that's the logging. Okay, so this is the logging. All right, now this the out of box templates, it has a thing called reset. We're not using that, so let me just delete this because it's not okay. So this is what we have. Okay, I did this to the other as well. So if you look at the logout, I put the body block, right? And the registration, I used body, okay? So all these out of box, it's actually content, you need to change it, if, because it has to match to your, uh, the base.html, okay? So that's where I got to this, okay? Now, let's try, see if it works, okay? So let's register a new one, okay? Uh, we'll just do we'll just do the school name, avtech, okay? Avtech, okay? All right, the email will be my at avtech, okay? And password is, we'll try anything else. So, right, so we'll submit this. Require valid. Oh, this is not a valid email address. So let's try this again, okay? So now it the page failed uh, the redirect because when it if it adds correctly, it will redirect to the URL, right? It's not doing that, so we need to fix that. But if I look at this, actually it's already there. So let's just go back to the Rango. Okay, so we'll come back to fix that problem. Now, where's the by hitting the URL is just not convenient. So we need to put a manual login somewhere here. So what I decided is actually put in here. Okay, so it will be home, about, and logging. So to do that, I'm gonna go to the base.html because that's where the header is defined, right? It's in here, the home, about. This is where this piece gets, defined. So we're gonna add it here, okay? Django has a very nice feature. It's called, let me get this. It's it has a built-in template called if user dot is authenticated. So what we're gonna do is use this to say, because if a user is authenticated already, and then the menu should not be showing login, right? It be showing should show log out. It shouldn't be calling login. So that's why I want to make that kind of change. So let's do this. Okay, now you have a right. So now we have the login. Okay, so remember we did this avtag. It crashed because of redirect, but the user does get entered. I'm gonna fix that, but let's just look at this. Okay, so the new user we created, right? So it logged in. Okay, so now it has a log out, right? So I can log out. Okay, so that's how it works. Now it really doesn't do much once you log in, log out. I mean, so what we want is actually, how about hide this whole thing, right? So it really makes sense. We should hide all this, until you log in. Okay. So how do we do this? Well, here's what we're gonna do. Remember we have this if user is authenticated. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So this is what we want to do. Let's again. I want to save some time, so let me just use what I already written, so you can look at this. Okay. So in the Rango, the page actually in the base here, right? So if I look at the base.html, my templates, what I will do is actually add a if user is logging authenticated or not, right? So remember here where I show in the base, I show this piece, right? I said the side block, right, which is this. Right? Remember, I called this get category list. Well, if we're gonna go this do this, why don't we just add the if else check here, right? So if it's if only you are authenticated, then I will show you this. Okay, so this is what I have. So instead of, oh, sorry, let me put this here. Okay, it needs to be here, right? So this is the original line. Okay, let me just format this so at least you can see it. So the line, this is the original line. Okay, what I'm adding is actually this block. Okay, I said if user is authenticated, then I will do this piece. This get category list. If users are authenticated, then I do this. Okay. Then also what I'll do is I will add to add a new category, because if you are not authenticated, there's no point to even show you the link to add a new category. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. So let me just delete this piece. So that's the logic to only show. Let's see. Right now, it's not. If I log in, there you go, right? So let me get rid of this because it's something since I have made it some changes. Here is this is the where it's the cast.html. Okay, so all right, now we have it. Okay, so if I log out, nothing show, right? If I log in, this shows. Okay, so that kind of basically shows us how we can do the login, and also based on the authentication show the what pieces information you want to display. Okay, so that is the what we have on the Django Django how to use Django's built-in authentication, as well as some of the uh, you know folks already made the component to enhance the Django's user management authentication security feature. Okay, so before we do this, we'll end the entire video tutorial. Let me go back to fix the registration issue. Okay, so well, I finished all the from the login and log out, and hiding this based on the login log out, hiding the page, certain part of the pages and site. So it's all good, but we crashed when we were doing the register, right? So like this, it crashes. The main reason is because it goes to a redirect after I register myself. It actually went through, okay, believe me. But the redirect, it went end up at the root level. Okay, so how do we fix this? Well, after some thought, I realized what we need is, because uh, the default registration view actually goes to the root. What we need to do is actually override that, redirect it to this, to Rango, right? So it'd be nice to just redirect to here. So this is what we're going to do. So where you put it in here, where you do this is actually on the project level, Django project level urls.py. So here's where it is. Okay, on the chapter 12, it talks about that too. So what you do is you overwrite or inherited subclass, however you call, basically the registration view. Okay, so what this says is, upon the successful submission, the redirect URL, instead of going to the root, which is the default behavior of registration view, you actually goes to Rango. Okay, so that's what this will fix the problem. And once you did this, you want to tell the URL where to go, right? So this is what you do. So you put it in here. So you said, once you see the register self, and you patch in with your my registration view, which ultimately will, upon the successful of submission, the redirect of URL will go to Rangos, okay, instead of go to the root. Now, before I run this, I have one thing to talk about. be careful when you copy paste. Actually the reason when I decided to do this entire video tutorial, I like the Tango with Django very much, but the problem is we're using 1.10 and the tutorial is based on 1.7. So I decided, I said, well, because a lot of stuff if you copy paste from here is actually not working from the example, so you have to tweak a lot. So that's why I decided to make a video so to share my experience with everybody on my knowledge as well. So here's an example of it. Now, if you just copy paste this, it won't work. It turns out 1.7, the get successful URL actually you expect a parameter called user, but 1.10 you don't need it anymore. So that's what you copy paste or it won't run. You need to delete the user parameter, okay? And the other thing is actually very important piece is actually is this: where are you putting your view, your URL, okay? If you put the URL after this, it will get this gets read right away because it goes by orders, and then you will never get to the register itself. So you need to put it in front of the accounts, okay? So that's very important because otherwise you can I can tell you it won't work, okay? So that's why you need to put it in front of the accounts for the override view, okay? So for the when you subclass it, class the default, you put in front of the account, okay? So now let's run this. So come back here, so log out, right? And log in. I do a register, right? So my email address, right? There you go, right? So now if I log in again, if I log in, just to make sure I'm doing the right thing, this is legit. So that's the user I just registered. So now I'm there, right? Okay, so uh, now this is the time where I will conclude the entire video tutorial, and I learned a lot. So hopefully the people watching this also learn a lot, and you can build some cool Python Django applications. Thank you for watching. Bye.